The Springboks are back. We're back. And the Stormers are undefeated. Let's start the show. You're watching Bit of an Animal, the South African Rugby Union podcast here on the Global Gainlines. I'm joined by two of the three musketeers, not the full bomb squad. Unfortunately, the rose among the thorns, Lisa B, is not with us this evening, so it's an Okes podcast, not a lads podcast. This is a Southern Hemisphere podcast. But the thing is, guys, apparently, according to a very famous South African stand-up comedian, to be a good oak, you have to play paddle. So, hands up if either of you've played paddle before. Oh, you guys are good oaks. I'm a bad oak. I didn't play paddle. Also, apparently, what? You have to join a run club. Either of you members of a run club? No, no.
Nope,
I
I
guess
run alone like a psychopath.
I run with many a run club. It's really for the free t-shirts, breathable t-shirts. The guys on the URC Rewind are obsessed with like rugby t-shirts, rugby replica t-shirts. I'm not that big a fan of those. I like because of the amount of time I spend exercising. I like breathable technical t-shirts. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna give me a free one of those, I'll be there. Shout out to the Ultra Trail Cape Town for the TEDx t-shirts last year. Hopefully get another one this year. All right, guys. We're back. We've taken a slight break, and yeah, we're refreshed. Shout out to Lisa B. We'll hopefully see you next week. The third thing about being a good oak is you have to enjoy matcha. Either of you, either of you enjoy matcha? Oh, that's a no. That's a no. So none of us are good oaks in that respect. Oh my
No.
God. So the Oaks are going to start now with the Springbok squad announcement versus Japan in Wembley. No mention of Heineken Meyer, please, please. I need to go to George. All right, Temikosi, what are your thoughts on the team that Rassi Rasmus has selected?
It was an interesting call. Like first and foremost, Zachary, the fact that he's in and just he just came in and just is in the starting lineup for the first match. That is good news. Going around the squad, it's good to see Ludiaha back. Mosta, I thought maybe that was I saw him. I think it was the what is it? Was it the one in Ellis Park where when he came off, he looked like he was tired. I thought maybe that was him kind of just shifting himself out, but it's good to see him back. I see Ethan is also on the wing. It's nice to see that we're actually going with him and didn't just put him back at will. Oh, and also I was interested to see what they will do with the 15. It's interesting. It's nice to see that Kobe's there. I did not think they would put Kobe. And the other interesting thing, it's Esther Hazen with the number 20 shirt, implying that he might be a forward.
Yeah, it's interesting that if you look on the bench, the first four players are all Bulls players. That's a strong. And then yeah, Istaizen, like you said, 20 above Kwacha. Uh, so yeah, Istaizen, the fact that he can play flank and inside center both really well, helps a lot, which is super weird because he obviously had a fallout. Well, it's rumored that he had a fallout with Jake White when Jake White was at the Sharks, managing the Sharks all those years ago. Seemingly that Jake White wanted him to only play flank. John, happy with the makeup of the team?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something interesting. Very excited to see Zachary Porthen there. Yeah, I think versus Japan, putting focus on having mobile, powerful forwards definitely helps. Japan's not necessarily going to try and outmuscle us one on one. Their focus is going to be to try and shift the focus of attack as much as possible. So if you have mobility around the park and guys being able to shift from side to side to contain that attack, I think if we deploy a defense very much similar to what we had in 2019, then we can definitely see some success there. But yeah, very excited for the team. Glad to see Kobus Reinach getting an extended run at 9. I really feel the game time, the continued game time, and the trust being placed in him see some growth. Same as Tembi Nkosi. Glad to see Franco Mostert back. I think Peter Steff has been carrying that 7 jersey pretty hard. I know Franco Mostert had some he had some personal troubles. So he obviously had some time away to deal with that. And then I think Sasha at 10 sort of speaks for itself. Guys were maybe expecting Pollard, but I think he's still in SA with the birth of his child, I think like a week ago. So we might only see him towards the end of the tour, in the games versus Wales, and maybe perhaps versus Ireland, which I think is our second to last game. But yeah, other than that, also pretty amped to have Ethan Hooker getting another run out, and Cheslin Colby at 15. I don't know if Japan's going to be brave enough to kick long, because one guy you don't want catching the ball and getting a run up is Cheslin Colby. But we all know what Russie's plan with the bench is, the 4-4 bench. It's just to get Matt Williams to go on another rant.
Uh, yeah, this is Colby at 15. Because of the coaching staff we have, we don't know if this is because, I mean, Valileru is not injured or anything. He was just not in the broader squad, not taken with. That doesn't mean he won't make the World Cup the amount of players we have and the thought process of our coaching staff. So Colby at 15, because Fassi is injured, and that's obviously sucks for the Sharks. It completely derails us. Damian Willems has got a slight hamstring issue. Hopefully he recovers from that, and that also affects us at inside center because he can play quite well there as well. So because of the coaching staff we have, we don't know if it's because of injuries or because of the try stuff, because this coaching staff is always willing to try things. Of course, this 5 matches will go a long way to deciding where we fall in terms of like the World Cup pooling and things like that. So the reality is that we always want to win games, but this coaching staff is willing to try things, innovate, push things forward at the risk of maybe instead of playing it safe the whole time. So that's very exciting. One thing that interesting for me is that when I looked at the Springbok squad to tour Europe, I didn't really look that closely, and because the national teams purposefully name squads in a very sort of jumbled way, they do it like uh, alphabetical order on surnames and stuff like that. It's to throw the opposition off. Like they're not gonna segment it into hooker, tight head prop, loose head prop, perfectly for like they make the opposition do it themselves. The thing for me is that um, it looked as if Wilco Low, and we'll look at the broader squad a bit later. It looked as if Wilco Low and Zachary Porthen were the only actual tight head props in the team. Can Gerard Steenkamp play tight head prop, Ron? Have you seen him do that?
And
I didn't.
I think he can maybe do a job at the Bulls level.
Yeah.
But
I
I
mean,
don't know.
uh,
Theoretically, speaking only from Scrum theory and not Scrum experience, the tight end is the guy is normally your stronger of the two props.
mm,
So less mobile, being a bit more blockish, a bit stronger. I mean, if you take a look at Volcolo, um, Volcolo, Vincent Koch, those guys, you'll see that they're pretty large, not very mobile, able
mm,
to sort of plant themselves.
mm,
And the idea being that your tight head is sort of the rock absorbing the pressure from the opposition loose head.
mm,
And if he's solid, that allows your loose head to gain the advantage. So he's not allowing them to overcome so that your tight head can gain the edge and wield the scrum.
mhm.
But that's like 100%. The last time I scrummed was in grade 2, and it wasn't that technical. We didn't have Dawn there. So Yeah, I don't remember seeing anyone specifically there.
Yeah. Because
But
if I look through it's on the screen now. If I look through the announced forwards in the squad itself, it's only Porthen and Wilcolo, but there is Netling Vershare, a guy who's really had to bide his time and sort of but with props you don't necessarily break through, and that's why it's such amazing to see Porthen break through so early.
but
Um, uh,
is
because
is Neertling available with his broken arm?
apparently he's on standby, but maybe this was like an earlier squad that I brought up. Yeah, that's even more because for some reason I don't see Vincent Hoch from the Sharks here as a sort of insect
Yeah.
flies past me. So that's something to keep an eye on.
I
Yeah,
think maybe you know what, if I'm thinking about it, it's possible that he could, like I said, that he could do a job there. You know,
Stanley
against a
Cup.
smaller team,
Yeah.
against a smaller team like, for example, Japan or Wales,
Mm,
perhaps, whose scrummaging is not going to be that intense.
hmm.
But I would really, looking at playing against France, I might expect actually Porthen on the bench and Low to start.
Yeah, I was super surprised Portland starts, but it's against Japan. I wouldn't see Portland like starting at 21 against like New Zealand or Ireland, that type of thing. But yeah, overall, like solid team. Bit more sort of variation. Pamba and Ngomazulu. There's a mix of youth and experience here, but they also had to do the best they could with the team and the short turnover. Um, we'll look again quickly at the broader squad that was selected. And it's worth noting that Makazole Mampimpi will not be involved because he's been suspended. That means he actually missed the recent Sharks game. Uh, and he'll miss all these games. No, he is available for the last game on this tour. Will they pick him? We'll have to see. And somebody will get into a bit later. Jan-Hendrik Wessels also won't be involved in a very, very long ban. So interesting squad. The only bolter I can see in the broader squad is Zach. Then because do you have any broader idea thoughts on the broader squad?
Well, when you still guys at the forwards, I think they are probably counting on Dutoy, I mean Thomas being the one that covers both, because I think in the Prem he does that.
Oh,
It does
Name
do.
Nkosi. Oh, yeah, brilliant.
So,
That's what I wasn't thinking of. I'm so tired. You're right. Yeah.
so
Thomas the Tank Tattoo can play on both sides of the scrum. Yeah.
yeah, so I think
Mystery
that's probably
mystery
what they
solved. Mystery solved. Yeah.
were going with. This was also in the conversation.
Yeah, and it's nice to see Sebastian de Klerk there. Yeah, he's been doing well for the Bulls. He's on the reserve list. Weird that John Augustus is on the reserve list, but yeah, I'm kind of happy that Lucanio Am and Bongi Mbambi on the reserve list. I want them to sort of just chill and be able to play fresh, hopefully, because our first game in the URC after this tour, immediately after the Springboks play this 5-week tour, is Connacht and Galway all the way in Ireland. So windy Galway. So excuse me, it's not going to be easy. And I want the best players. Although I will say Lucania Arm's form lately, as much as he's one of my favorite players of all time, has not been the greatest. Yeah, that is the squad. We'll look quickly at some of the minutes some of the players have played. Kind individual on Reddit posted this, and according to his Reddit, he's a Southern Kings fan. So hopefully we'll get him on the pod sometime soon. And he shared this spreadsheet, a link to it, and then everybody could download it. And it's obviously been filtered by who's actually played the most across the year for not their club, but specifically for the Springboks. And we can see Malcolm Marks has played the most, followed by Peter Steph du Toit, then Jason Colby. Who's next? Oh, it's Caden Moody. Wow. Chisholm Colby, and then Rowan Nokia. And on the bottom end, it's Evan Roos, made one appearance against Italy, Faf de Klerk, amazingly enough. Jean-Luc Dupré is mostly because of injuries. Jean Klein, again, injured in the first game, back in the squad. And then Salman Murat, who's also suffered from injuries. Guys, how do you feel about the management of the resources by the Springbok team? We'll go to you first, Emikosi.
Especially concerning Petersdale Detroit. It's nice to see that we have Ben Jason Dixon back. So I think it'll limit some of his time because he was like the overworked person in this whole entire team. In terms of other ones, I think your Kenan Moody, your Rowan Nohia, those ones are kind of seem like they're going to be the pillar of the new team, or is like going forward. So they kind of need to get like as much game time as that they can get. Especially Moody, he needs to iron out some things. You just highlighted Sia. I feel like he should get a rest. Like if we really want him full and firing for the World Cup, you should take it lightly.
Yeah, I
Along
don't
with
want to
Etzebeth, wherever he is.
every game in these 5 games. I think we can. Van Staden's been solid. After Van Staden, who plays on the flank? I wonder maybe Kwacha shifts. Jean, any thoughts on the numbers we see in front of us?
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. We see Malcolm Marx pretty much having the most minutes, which is interesting. I think if we look at his form post 2023 Rugby World Cup and towards the end of last year, he's been maybe struggling to get back in the saddle. And that's understandable. He had a pretty terrible knee injury, and you sort of, it would be unnatural not to have that lingering in the back of your mind, and you sort of have to build that confidence and that fearlessness again. The one thing that does sadden me is the fact that Sia's probably going to play his 100th test cap overseas, and it would have been nice to have it here. Yeah, I think what also jumps out to me is, yes, Malcolm Marx and Pieter Steph Tutua, maybe and Cheslin Colby, maybe the 3 in the top 5 who've played the most minutes from the established squad. But if you take a look at Kanan Moody, Ruan Orkia, Thomas Tutua, Ethan Hooker, Damian Willemse, Grant Williams, Jasper Wiese, these are all some of the guys who are a bit on the younger side of the team by about a year or 2. So that just shows you again how well Rassie and them are managing this transition. Yeah, I think with the eye on 2027, you can't really miss the fact that a lot of the guys getting good minutes now are the guys on the right side of 32, 33 to sort of have the younger team more available, more experienced, because you want them play not walking into a quarterfinal where they're playing France or they're Ireland and it's their first game against them. You sort of want them to have that experience. You can't just say, oh, well, I played the All Blacks, I'll be able to take on France. So I think they're managing the minutes pretty well. But it will be very interesting to see how that happens going into next year. And sort of managing the transition between the old guard and the new guard.
Yeah, I appreciate that as well. I think they're doing the best they can. I mean, it's unideal circumstances. You have a plan, and then you get punched, and then plan goes out the window. Jan-Hendrik Wessels getting suspended, John. I'm not sure if John's still there. Unideal situation. I alluded to it on the URC Round. This guy can play tight head, loose head prop and hooker at a very high rate. He's extremely explosive. Considering that there's actually no video evidence of what he's being accused of.
I think the fact that there is no video evidence is very concerning. Like, I think if he did what you say, I mean, what they say he did, then
I
definitely he
I
deserves the
didn't I
card.
didn't say.
Definitely deserves the card. But with no evidence, it's kind of be like, okay, can we prove the case? No, we can't.
Yeah, I think where the discourse sort of becomes a problem is the fact that there's such inconsistency around this, right? So if we view the incident, the footage is everywhere. So if you take a look at the incident, I mean, yes, I can see what the panel is saying, that his arm is doing something unnatural, but I mean, it's a ruck. Anybody who's ever been in a ruck, even at age grade level, will tell you, sometimes it looks weird, but you're just trying to alleviate pressure on your knee, or some guy's pressing onto your groin, so you're trying to get his knee off of your groin, but you can't see where your hand is going, or such. So I think we also have to take a look at the context, because there's one thing to be said for intentionally um, grabbing a person's genitals and twisting it with the intention of getting an advantage out of it. And another thing for, I'm trying to alleviate pressure on my knee so I don't get injured, and I accidentally grab the wrong thing. Um, that being said, I think the discourse and the controversy is not whether or not he should be punished for that action. It's the fact that um, the Connacht player Murphy retaliated with strikes to the head, and that was overturned, which is not the case. It shouldn't be, even if he did grab him, right? Just because something is understandable is not acceptable. I mean, we all learn that as children. We teach it to our children to say that, yes, you might become mad. That doesn't mean you get to punch your friend for eating your cookie, right? So, same thing here. You're a professional. The ref is right there. There's no need to punch the guy in the head, even if you are angry, right? So, yeah, and
in 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 the
it's
game
sort of
itself,
concerning.
was Murphy got a red card for the punches, right? Was Jan-Hendrik Wessels punished in any way during the
No,
game for that specific? No, right? So this is the
no.
thing. When I was asked about this on Sunday when we record the URC Rewind, I had that context, right? But I was maybe more concerned about the Makazona Mampimpi suspension, that type of thing. But those are the aspects that concern me. Um, it's Murphy's word against everybody else's. There's a video. It's a rack, like you say, move the feet, and then if Jan-Hendrik Wessels had it's so weird because there's no actual evidence of this. It's just Murphy's word. But then on top of it, Murphy gets a red card in the game. But I would have felt a little better if Jan-Hendrik Wessels got a lesser suspension and Murphy at least got some sort of suspension, i.e. you can't play a couple of games and that type of thing. So then I would have been a little bit okay, but this is going to be so weird because at any level, somebody can jump up, punch another guy, and say, "But he grabbed me in an inappropriate manner," or like to try and like mess with me and that type of thing. Remember when Peter de Villiers was coach of the Springboks, and then that guy said, "Salzburger eye gouged me," and then there was no video evidence either, except
Yeah.
just people in Iraq. So how do we police this? Then, because do you have any ideas?
Well, I think the starting point is okay. Going with Hendrix, like the vessels one, the way it happened. So it was a rock. We couldn't see, and then there's an alleged this and happened, and then someone punches someone. I feel like the first offense we should deal with is the fact that even if he did grab you, you're not allowed to just openly punch someone. And I think he was trying, like, I feel like he missed the first one, and the second one maybe probably got the to strike vessel. So yes, the fact that that was overturned later is kind of weird. So I agree with you there. But on terms of how do we police it, I think the rules kind of already tell us how to police this. That was a foul. He should be getting a red card. He should be suspended for actually that's like more dangerous play because he actively tried to hurt another player, whereas the other one could have been an accident. So I'm not sure why the other one that has no evidence at all has 9 weeks, and the one where we saw someone get punched only gets, well, that was like only gets like what, the 20 minutes red card, and that's all. It doesn't make sense to me.
Jean, you got any more thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, just I mean, the disciplinary committee noted that there's a certain element of self-interest in Murphy claiming to have been grabbed on the scrotum, and I don't think his reaction is non-genuine, right? I'm not saying that he wanted to punch him in the head, so he came up with a story. I think that that's stretching it a bit. What I do think is that, you know, if you are conscious enough of the fact that there's self-interest in saying a person did this, hence I did that, then you should be conscious enough of the fact that if two people are wrong, both need to be punished. Even if they, and I think that that would have settled the controversy a lot, is if they said, listen, yeah, we don't have evidence either way. So Jan-Hendrik Wessels, this is your punishment. And Murphy, you should actually be getting a more severe punishment, but we're going to reduce it based on the fact that we can't tell who is guilty or not guilty, right? And I think that would have left a less bitter taste in everyone's mouth. Whereas now, a few people have a very bitter taste and feel probably righteously aggrieved at the way this process has gone. Because the reason we don't have any video evidence is the fact that Hawkeye is not available in that stadium. So the Hawkeye technology is not available in that stadium. It's actually the last URC stadium to be outfitted with it. And the referee actually made reference to it because he asked Holly Davidson, who was the TMO, Holly, we don't have Hawkeye, so it's my decision, correct? And she said yes. And then he walked away. And Holly did a pretty good job of coaching him. And then the ref went and gave a red card, which inflamed the situation as well. Like, I understand he punched a player on the head, but he's telling you, I did so for a reason, and his response seems genuine. So now you have this whole thing where during the match it became inflamed and people are feeling aggrieved. So now the disciplinary council must appear to come down hard. I just think from start to finish, this whole situation should have been handled properly. And it hasn't been.
Yeah. The last thing we'll say is that Jan-Hendrik Wessels is really good. He's really good at lucid prop. He's very explosive. I mentioned that before. I've yet to see him really excel at hooker, but you never know. I've not seen a lot of him at hooker, so it hurts the Bulls very much so, but it also hurts the Springboks. So that's why another reason why we were a bit aggrieved about it. The Makazole Mampimpi suspension. As a Shark supporter, has been watching Makazole Mampimpi play since he played for the Southern Kings. He's one of my favorite all-time players, but I feel that the suspension is warranted. But we'll end this discussion on a slightly better note. We'll actually look at the only real bolter in the Springbok squad touring Europe, and that's Zachary Porthen. So 21 years old, former Baby Bok captain. So many former Baby Bok captains we mentioned on this podcast, including Pipsi Buthelezi, who got his 100th game for the Sharks this weekend. So let's just quickly look at Zach's career thus far. In 2022-2023, he played for the Baby Boks. He wasn't the captain at the time. And then he played again for the Baby Boks. See how many games he played the first year? Not that many. Georgia, Italy, Argentina, Ireland, England. Interesting. No other games. Next season, a few more games. New Zealand, Argentina. Okay. So no Australia. Fiji. Interesting. Wales, Argentina. 21 years old. We'll get to his age and his heights and his stats later. Last season, he played one game in the URC around 17, and he played for 18 minutes coming off the bench. Weirdly, they don't show his Currie Cup. We've watched him play a few games in the Currie Cup this season. This season he's played 4 of the 5 games that the Stormers had, and he's slowly played slightly more, and they actually started some games. So this was super interesting when you consider tight head props in general, but tight head props in particular are thought of as maturing later. So they don't want to rush them too soon. Some guy can play for I mean, how old is Nettling for Share? Nettling for Share is a tight head prop. I should bring his stats up, but let's compare Zach Porthen with some of the more stalwarts, the people who've been holding it down at tight head prop for the Springboks of late. So the name that comes to mind most prevalently for most people would be the guy who's injured now, and people sometimes think that he's retired, but he's not. He's just injured out for a year, and that would obviously be Frans Malherbe. So Frans Malherbe, 34 years old. What's interesting to see is height stats are more consistent than weight stats, because weight stats fluctuate and that type of thing, but people don't get massively taller, massively shorter in a certain amount of time. So if we look at Porthen in terms of he's 6'2", i.e. 1.89 meters tall in a metric system. And then we've got Frans Malherbe, 1.9, just slightly taller than him at 6'3". So Frans is like the gold standard of props. And then we've got Vincent Koch, aka I didn't take money under the table from Saracens. What are you talking about? At 35 years old, 6'1". Oh, Vincent, why did you get yellow carded the other day for a poor tackle? Anyway, we weren't on that. And then Wilco Lowe, who is always thought of as being like an ideal tight head prop because of his size and explosiveness. Went overseas for a bit, wasn't in the team, and then came back and forth. Is very much in the team now. Everyone's happy. Wilco Lowe, by the way, is coming back to Cape Town. And then obviously Thomas du Toit, 30 years old. I've seen Thomas du Toit in person. He is both wide as he is tall. He is a behemoth of a human being. I think the last time I saw Thomas du Toit in person was at Boland Wellington Stadium when the Sharks were playing Boland in the Currie Cup. So these are the guys. But what's you're always going to have bolters in a team. But what's interesting is that Zach is 21 and he's already in the team. So in Rassie we trust. That's the motto of this podcast. But and we're not questioning Rassie. But the thing is that they must see something in this kid if they're playing him this early at that position. Yes, they're starting him against Japan. It's not that tough a scrummaging thing, and they've got. If you look at the team around him, he's got very senior players and quite large locks as well. So I'm very excited about this. But at the same time, he's getting a cap at 21. If he regresses a little and goes up and down, progress is not linear, people. I don't want to hear bullshit 2 years time from now saying he's out the team because he's shit. No. People need to mature and develop at their own pace. Not everybody's going to be in the team all the time. Any thoughts, Jean, on such a young player at such a key position?
Yeah, first of all, I think the fact that he's got a couple of stalwarts at Stormers, probably helping him off the field in terms of guys like Brock Harris, Frans Malherbe, guys who's been around the block. Nettling for Shea probably as well. In terms of scrum knowledge, there's a lot of scrum knowledge there. You don't know if maybe Spicy Plum is also helping him out. So there's a lot of knowledge floating around there. Like we all tend to think of the Bulls as the scrum team, being the team that plays very forward dominant rugby. But in terms of knowledge and expertise, Stormers are not that far behind, and they've actually got a pretty good scrum setup. So using those experienced tight heads to bring the dark arts to the younger guys makes sense. And just on the length thing, I think the reason you want a tall tight head is because they have to absorb so much pressure. And if you're longer, you have a better, you're a better lever, so you get more leverage. But yeah, it's definitely, look, I'm very happy for him, and I do think early exposure is key. Like if he plays against Japan, even against Japan, settling in a test match scrum is going to be different, and you're going to feel the pressure, you're going to feel it. and it's gonna broaden his eyes to what it is to be a Springbok tight head. And then when he goes back to the Stormers, he's sort of like, okay, so I thought Stormers scrum was tough, but actually it ranks down here because when you go to test match, it's up here. So yeah, I'm happy for him, and like you said, in Rassie, we have to trust. We don't have a choice. Everyone's injured.
It's I think it's just there's a novelty to it because we're so used to tight head props in particular getting chances very late in their 20s, maybe early 30s. Jan-Hendrik Vershey only got his chance at 31. And people think he's like a bolter, and he looks quite young and that type of thing. But comparative to like Brock Harris, who looked like he was 40 when he was 20. But if you look at Jan-Hendrik Vershey, sort of this is more archetypal of the development of a tight head prop in particular in South Africa. He was at the Bulls for years. He was in the Bulls 15. This is basically just the Bulls second team. He didn't play any Super Rugby for the Bulls. He played for the Cheetahs 2 games. He played a bunch for Western Province, and only more recently did he play for the Stormers. And then he played 96 games for the Stormers. Played 90 games for the Stormers before he got his first call up to the Springbok squad. We wish Zach well, but it's surprising to everybody because we anticipate bolters, but no one had on their bingo card a 21-year-old tight head prop. But like we say in Rassie, we trust, and there's a confidence in it. All right, let's move on to quickly predicting this week's games in the. Well, it's not Autumn Nation. End of year tour, shall we say. It's Autumn Nation series for the Northern Hemisphere people. We Southern Hemisphere people. It's spring for us. Themikosi, England versus Australia. Who you got?
Considering that Australia started basically last year with beating England, I think they really would want to come and actually put up a fight for this match. And the fact that England are just coming in kind of like cold. The last time they played was like in June. So I'm expecting, and that was like the B team. So I'm expecting Australia to come with some sort of intent. But then again, seeing them play last week against Japan, there was a lot to be desired. It was kind of okay, but they were kind of hanging on there at the end when Japan was kind of coming back. But if I had to pick a verdict, I think England will be strong at home, but definitely Australia would want to win this match out of the rest of the tour that they have. This one would be one of their key matches that they would want to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough predicting without a team sheet. Always informs our decisions a bit better. But yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday, the 28th of October. Sorry, Tuesday, the 28th of October. That's a Freudian slip considering what happened earlier. I put in the pre-podcast. It's inside baseball. Quickly, Jean, the Poms or the what's the
I think
or the
I
Wallabies?
think it's going to be the Poms.
Mm.
Yeah, they've got Captain Reliable at 10, George Ford, and he's happy to just play boring rugby for however long it takes for the Australians to get frustrated and give them a gap. George Ford is pretty much I would say the closest you're going to get to 100 Pollard in the English team. And he's happy just to let the forwards plug away and create the gap for the back line. And I think if Borthwick can get everyone on board and in buying into the game plan quickly enough to say, listen, let's just wear them down. Yeah, I think England. I think Australia still feeling the fatigue from a tough year. England having had a break. Yeah, they're coming out of the cold, but they've got more energy.
Well, we do know whatever happens in the game, we have to support Australia because Tim Nkosi made it very clear earlier this season that whenever England play, we have to pick the other team. So, and besides, we're only watching half this game because this game kicks off at 10 past 5 South African time in the afternoon in the PM. And then an hour later, the South Africa versus Japan game kicks off at Wembley. These two games are both in London. They are, I checked on Google Map, they are 3 hours apart if you walk. I don't walk that slow. And 55 minutes apart if you take a bike. So take a bike. So it's Africa versus Japan. Temikosi, you got?
Anything else than South Africa would kind of be like some sort of, I don't know.
We'd
But
send
you
you back
never
to
know.
Mauritius.
You never know. So I think for the sake of not being crucified, I'm gonna go with South Africa.
Fantastic. Checks in the mail. Jean, how do you see this game going out, playing out?
Yeah, I think it's definitely South Africa. Rassi obviously wants to put some ghosts to bed. But yeah, I think Japan facing also an aging crisis, not really helping them. A lot of players there reaching the end of their years. Yeah, I feel it's pretty much the Springboks game.
Interesting. Um, Interesting to see former Sharks player Tyler Paul out there. He's in the Japanese team there. Shout out to him. Yeah, he would always play blindside flank. It obviously is a lock in Japan. So shouts to Tyler. He was a solid player. And he left the Sharks quite some time ago. So yeah, good for him, man. Neatling, you can go away now. Scotland, USA. Quickly, guys. Scotland? Yeah, okay. And then the
Scotland.
game, that Demikos has been waiting for all year. It's Ireland versus New Zealand in the Irish province of Chicago. Demikos, we got your secret
I'm
first
gonna.
team or Ireland?
I am actually going with. I think Ireland might pull in an upset. You never know. This is the first place where they did the New Zealand. I mean the All Blacks. So there could be another. Hey, let me show you up again. But I doubt. I think the New Zealand public can't take another loss this year. So anything except for a win is gonna be. Razor's gonna face a lot of hate.
Jean, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, look, definitely the one I don't want to say looking most forward to, but I think definitely going to be the most intense clash. Um, a lot of hate out there. If we take a look at the last three matches, it's 1 to Ireland, 2 to New Zealand, one of them being a quarterfinal, and the first quarterfinal revenge match. So I think Ireland have got plenty of emotional ammunition to get them amped up enough. And I'll lean just a little bit towards the boys in green, to finish it off.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Definitely the game of the week in my perspective. I think New Zealand might have a slight edge. Okay, before we move on to the URC, we're gonna remind everybody, subscribe, click the notification bell. This is a bit of an animal. You're watching Global Gain Lines, and we're gonna give a shout out to everybody in our last episode before we took a slight hiatus to recoup and recover. To everybody that got in. Thank you, everybody who watched all the podcasts. Everybody who liked the podcast, and everybody who got into the comments in the last episode. It was Michael Clegane. Shout out to him. Very Game of Thrones surname there. Neil McKeown. I hope you're not related to Martin Keown. And of course, also Jean's neighbor, Tian van der Walt. I appreciate everybody's support, including Seamus McGuigan, our first ever commenter. All right, guys. Now, Lisa B is not here this week. She's not feeling well. I don't know if she has the same thing young Adam had on the URC Rewind podcast, but she's missing out because her team is doing really, really well. Unbeaten alongside Munster. They're both sponsored by Adidas. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. I thought the Stormers had a
NDHL.
slightly easier start of the season in terms of strength of schedule. I'm really impressed by the way the Stormers have started and the way they've rotated their team and the resources they have. They're not without injuries. Then Mikosi, are you slowly becoming a Stormer supporter?
Not a chance. Not a chance. I'm hoping that they like I'm perplexed whether I want Monster or like if somehow next year, like the next time they play, both of them could lose. That's like would be an ideal situation for me. I don't know. But yeah, they're playing real well, especially this last game. Mateo was actually running fire. Like you can see that everyone that is getting a chance to play, they're playing their chances, they're playing their hearts out. It's not like we're waiting for Sasha or Damien Villains. It seems like the whole team knows when to do what, and yeah, hope they lose.
Jean, do you concur with Mbingosi's assessment?
Um, for now, maybe. Yeah, definitely not. I think what a lot of us expected for the Stormers team, looking at this year. But yeah, pleasantly surprised for them. And then, yeah, just don't let them get to the final. That would really be disappointing.
Well, I guess I reside in the city of Cape Town municipality, and yeah, I hope to watch the. I haven't yet watched the URC game this season of the Stormers. They only played a few. Yeah, it'd be cool to actually go out there and watch the game. And it's the Stormers' success is a combination of a few things. It's not just you need a bit of luck, yes. They don't have that many players in the Springbok team, so the disruption's not that bad. Injury wise, they've been somewhat lucky, and then the I was concerned about their front row composition and it might be a bit too young or whatever, but I'm pleasantly surprised by the ability of Vernon Matongo and Sandy Sanye. Zachary Porthen, I've said it on this podcast on the URC Rewind before, actually struggled in the Currie Cup. He was struggling against like Boland and Pumas and Griquas, and he actually scrummed much better in the URC this season, which could be a combination of the fact that he had more senior people around him. The Stormers, like the Sharks, used the Currie Cup Premier Division as a means to play guys on the fringes of the team and under 21 players who then went on to play in the under 21 tournament with the experience of the Currie Cup and perform quite well. Sharks in particular did that quite well. They basically in the first two games they played the under 21 team who then went on to actually win the under 21 SA Championship a few weeks later. So I don't want to discredit the Stormers' success as luck. It's not luck. They put in the hard work and they've been fortunate not to have key injuries in the night times. And the way their management has balanced the fact that guys like Sasha Feinberg and Gomezulu came in, but it didn't disrupt the team, and they continued to win. And then they rotated back to Yuri Matea, who's a player they were so mature in managing this because they could have so easily said, "Oh, he's young, he's good," and do the whole Sam Pendergrass, Kerwin Bosch thing, and like push him into the team before he's physically adapted to that type of level and be a bit more exposed. But instead, they slowly bled Yuri Matea in, and he's bulked up significantly. If you look at him and you look at Carl Smith, who's like his understudy, you can see Carl Smith is not as physically imposing as him yet, but the Stormers are so smart in terms of our fly-off depth is Damon Willemse can play there. People forget that. Libok, Sash Feinberg, and Gomezulu, and then Yuri Matea. Yeah, but I mean, when they were developing the depth and not pushing Yuri Matea in, Libok left recently, but they could have pushed Yuri Matea in sooner at the expense of Libok or shift him around, that type of thing. But they had those guys, they had all those guys on the books. They had Feinberg and Gomezulu, Damien Willemse, they had Libok, they had Yuri Matea, they had Kyle Smith. But they used their resources and they didn't overexpose a young player too soon. And they're reaping the rewards now because he looks, it's early days, but he looks a complete player for his ability at this young stage. So the Stormers, yes, when you look at things like strength of schedule, they had a not as tough a schedule as say the Lions and the Sharks, but you've got to play the team in front of you, and you've got to maximize those opportunities. And often teams will drop a game here and there. For the Stormers to do 5 games on the bounce, is incredibly a testament to the hard work that they've put in. So shout out to them. All right. And
Just something I want to mention from the Stormers, and I heard this on an interview with man, it's I can't remember his name now. He plays 6 for he plays flanker for the Stormers, and they were asking him like how times have changed in terms of doing preseason training with the Stormers, and he said at one point doing preseason training with the Stormers, like you would run a lot, and it would be incredibly hard work, and it would be incredibly physical, lots of weights, lots of repetitions, lots of punishment. And then he said nowadays they have like a 2-week gym block where they're physically in the gym, they're doing weights, they're getting their physical strength up, and then they slowly start bringing in the cardio. And he mentioned that they play a version of volleyball, but with like a 5 or a 6 kilogram med ball that they keep throwing, and you have to sort of run and catch, and you have to throw it again. And I think that's a really clever way of actually building fitness, is by having a game like that and not doing what a person would consider destructive fitness, just running the whole time, being on your feet, being on your legs, having that excessive impact, and having that gamesmanship. It also gets you excited. And I think that's one thing where the Stormers are actually capitalizing on their talent, is they've got the fitness to be on the attack, because we see them winning with large margins. And one thing that we see that's similar in terms of the Springboks is when their match fitness caught up to their game plan, we saw the margins starting to grow. So I think it's the same for the Stormers, and yeah, there's definitely some clever management going on there.
yeah, the aspect of sports science evolving, and the Stormers. I saw an interview with Leland Zass where he sort of alluded to that. Might have been the player you're referring to. I mean, start the season, that Leinster team was good, but the Stormers were playing at home, that type of thing. And then Ospreys, you'd always pick the Stormers ahead of the Ospreys, unfortunately, for the Ospreys. And then they immediately go on tour, and they win. They beat Scarlets, and Scarlets are having a weird season. The lock crisis. They were bossing Scarlets at the scrum, but not the Scarlets weren't in the game. As against Zebre, you would think they would always be favourites, but still it's difficult to win in Italy. And then they win in Italy again against a good Benetton team. Interestingly enough, the Benetton fly off Umaga, who was capped once by England, by the way. He actually seemed to struggle with his kicks closer to the poles, whereas his kicks from really, really far away, he was quite good at kicking them. Their next game is quite a tough one. So it's the top of the log. Tune into this one a month from now, immediately after the fantastic international series. It's Munster versus Stormers, and this is going to be incredibly interesting. Definitely watching that. 29th of November at 7:30 South African time. All right. And then they immediately go into the group stages of the Champions Cup, Bayonne away, and then La Rochelle. And this La Rochelle game will not be at Cape Town Stadium, so I won't be able to go watch it. It will actually be in the Eastern Cape at Nelson Mandela Stadium. All right. Enough glazing of the Stormers. We move on to Thembinkhosi's Lions, who won their second game of the season after a 3-match losing streak. If the internet would be so kind as to help us out here. Thembinkosi, before we even get to here we are. You beat Ulster. Ulster were missing a bunch of players, but second game in a row, and you had twice as many people in the stadium. The week before you had 2,000 people in the stadium. This week you had 4,000. Next week you have 6.
I seriously doubt that, but I'm glad that they actually came out and responded. But it was actually a good game. It looked like, your vintage Lions where they played a really expensive game. Everything was kind of going their way. Yeah, there were a couple of handling errors, penalties, but besides from that, I was actually happy. I'm actually glad that someone told them that when you run lines, you can run in pods, so you can offload, so someone can clean, so someone can seal. I didn't see that the first opening games, and like I said, I think they're winning because of the red shirt. Honestly, that other kid might actually just be the problem. But yeah, they played well. Also, Ulster kind of at the end they kind of looked tired, and the Lions just kind of took advantage of that.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Also seem to lose some steam there towards the end. Clever from the Lions to actually you sort of target Mike Lowry when they were attacking the Ulster line in the 22, as opposed to what the Sharks were doing the week before, where they were trying to when Mike Lowry had the ball and he was attacking, they tried to kill him. John, did you catch any of this game?
Not a lot. Yeah, one, I think the altitude, the rapid transition to altitude, definitely didn't give them any advantage. And like Temi of course he said at the end there, you can be in the fight for 70 minutes. Those last 10 minutes at almost 2,000 meters above sea level, the altitude bites and you're feeling it. So yeah, I also think that perhaps because Ulster monstered the Bulls the previous week, it's hard because that required a lot of emotional energy, and physical energy, and now you're playing the Lions, and it's you sort of maybe fall into a trap thinking, oh well, we beat the Bulls, the most physical team SA has, and you fall into that trap and you lose to the Lions.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Ulster, but they look good. They look good. Yeah. Now we move on to the Sharks. Actually won a game this season for the first time. Wow. The Sharks are now the Scarlets, the only team to have not won a game. So it was the blind leading the blind here, or like I said on the URC Rewind, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. The Sharks, many, many issues, Plumtree out, shifting things around. Not the greatest schedule, but still losing so many players to Springboks. I mean, they come back, they look completely. The composition of the Sharks team is. We're starting to see the negatives of having such a Springbok-laden team. Although I will say, Ethan Hooker, we developed as a player, including Lorenzo Julius and that type of thing, and he's in the Springbok team now, and he's from KZN as well. So yeah, the Sharks were able to defeat the Scarlets. It was a close game. Yes, we won by 10 points, but it was actually the Scarlets also seemed to lose steam towards the end of the game. Springboks didn't really punch up to the degree we might have hoped. We have also got a lock crisis because we had to loan JJ Skippers from the Pumas. So we have 7 contracted locks injured or yeah, just injured. Yes, we did start with Springboks, Movenori and Evan Isabel, and they played the whole game. JJ Skippers did not come on at all. Overall, I will shout out Jean Smith. Very good hands. Young player, 22, former Baby Rock. Looked solid. Edwin van der Merwe put in a good shift on the wing. He's been deputizing at fullback for a bit for the last few games, and that sort of doesn't make him a bad player there. It's just you don't get the full Edwin van der Merwe experience if he's at fullback. It's not so much a fullback; it's more like an emergency fullback. Andre Esterhuizen did Andre Esterhuizen things. He was a bit quiet. Lucanio Am, again, not in the best of form. Ethan Hooker, much better than the previous game. It was great to see Jordan Hendricks back, looking really bulky. Weird that he didn't take longer kicks for the line and that type of thing. So having him back was a big help. Faison Bata made an impact off the bench. Both our substitute props absolutely destroyed the Scarlets props. But you on the URC Rewind said that the Scarlets replacement props aren't the best players. So take that with a pinch of salt. Yeah, once again, shout out to Pepe Buthelezi. This is his 100th game for the Sharks against non-South African opposition. So this doesn't. He's also got 12 extra caps in the Currie Cup. So it's that's 112th game for the Sharks in total. His former Baby Rock captain, 26 years old, very good number 8, and mature enough to deputize for the team, to be a team player and sometimes play on the flank. He's not a natural flanker. Hakeem Kodene came on for like 5 minutes. Terenzo Julius made somewhat of an impact off the bench. Jan-Hendrik's bit more of an impact off the bench. Still concerned about his overall execution. Yeah, guys. We finally got a win. We drew a game early in the season. We're gonna really have to use this. I've spoken to some Sharks players. We're gonna the players who are not with the Springboks, which is like 3 guys, I guess. They're gonna have to use this time off. They got 2 weeks off now, and then they get back into camp before we have to play away to Connacht and Galway, and then play a certain Toulouse team in France. So that's not gonna go well. Yeah, Sharks won, and we're thankful for it. Now, Jean, you've got some explaining to do. We were hoping for a clean sweep of South African teams this week. What happened?
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, what undid us was the discipline. That penalty try at the end sort of sealed it, seals the game. Discipline definitely not something that, is something that we can be proud of at this point in time. Besides the controversy surrounding Jan-Hendrik Wessels, I just think that there's been pretty much for the Bulls at least 1 card per match on average. So it's going to be very difficult, to expect to win a game when you're going down to 14 for what, about 10% of the game? No, more. Close to 12% of the game every game that you're playing with 14 guys. So yeah, but look, I'm not too harsh on the Bulls. We sort of have to take this season for what it is. There's a new coach. Things are going to change a bit. There's going to be feet finding. There's going to be, new things being brought in. But I will say this. I think Glasgow are probably one of the teams that are the most of the overseas teams, or the Scottish, Irish, Welsh teams, probably one of the most physical teams out there. They really, they really don't shy away from the physicality of it all, and they have a well-rounded game. So yeah, I'm sad to see the Bulls lose, but at the same time, there's the fact that we're giving away yellow cards every game. That's going to cost you. And 2, it's we have to accept that a new coach is not just going to walk in and start winning. I mean, even Rassie Erasmus in his first year only had a 50% win ratio. So I think it would be harsh to expect anyone else to sort of achieve more than that. But I'm hoping that in the Champions Cup, we're a bit more competitive than we are right now, where we seem to have one good week, one bad week. And then, yeah, obviously, I think the whole drama surrounding the Jan-Hendrik Wessels saga will be, it's going to be such a big mental distraction and mental drain. The coaches have to be very careful about allowing themselves to get drained by that, and then not being present for what's happening on the field.
I see you lost 2 games, but you beat Connacht. Would you drop to? You dropped the game to Ulster.
Yes, yeah. So we
Yeah.
lost to Ulster, we lost to Glasgow, and it's probably 2 very physical teams who could match the forwards in terms of intensity
Oh yeah.
that we lost to. I was a bit disappointed in the game against Connacht, because I did expect us to beat them a little bit further. But yeah, it's happy to walk away with the win there. But yeah, there's definitely, like, I think the goal this season for Ackerman and the Bulls is, as the season goes, they'll set achievable goals for what they want to achieve, and slowly start building a system where end of the season they can sit down and say, these are things that we did right, these are things that we did wrong, and looking at next year, let's build on some of these things and build some cohesiveness and some strategies around what we have here.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. You play 2 home games and then to immediately go to Ulster, who still had the Irish players and didn't have that many injuries. So that I forgot that you guys had lost to Ulster. I wasn't that disappointed or so surprised. It's just a bit disappointing to me that people after this loss, you won 2 games though. After this loss, people are like, Ackerman doesn't know what he's talking about. But when we say people, we just mean random bots on social media and that type of thing. People just say random shit. Um, uh, Glad you guys beat Connacht and Galway. I mean, not an easy game to win, so that's an achievement. And I wasn't hugely surprised that you guys lost to Glasgow. Glasgow really good. Glasgow, no joke. And even though Glasgow don't have the depth that they might have had last season, they still have a really good team, and they've been really smart in terms of developing their squad and like recruiting Josh Mackay in his late 20s from New Zealand, and he's almost able to play for Scotland in a couple. I think he might play for Scotland soon, maybe even in this Northern Hemisphere too. I have to check it. So that's a good player to have. Jamie Dobie didn't even play. Jamie Dobie, the Scottish version of Grant Williams. Then, Mikosi, any thoughts on your Gauteng brethren dropping a second game, but still looking a solid team?
Yeah, I also heard the whole chat of them. Seems like everyone after the second loss, everything is kind of going downhill. But I don't think they're doing that badly. I think they just need to adjust to the new system, especially because it seems like they're scoring way more tries than last year. So that comes at a cost. So I think the cost is a little bit the defensive side. It's not as strong or as linked up as before, but they can work on that. And concerning the past game, well, I looked at last year, and last year around about this time they actually won that game, and I think it was also away. So I was kind of expecting maybe they would show us something. Maybe Ackerman would, give us a surprise, but they fought. And if it wasn't for that, okay, but it wasn't no goal. But if it wasn't for that disallowed try, that could have changed the whole momentum of the other game. And I didn't want to consider talk about the ref, but it was weird that okay, fine, it was a knock on, but I don't remember what happened, and now it was a penalty against the Bulls or something like that. During around about that moment, it caused a little bit of okay, but yeah, it's fine.
I mean, not having Hanekom, not having Ulrich Low, that doesn't help you. They do have depth, but even Akker van der Merwe is not available for some reason. I'm not sure if he's touring, but Ellis was the hooker on the bench, the replacement hooker. So yeah, overall assessment. Stormers doing great. Bulls doing decent. Lions won 2 games, and the Sharks about to get relegated. Quickly, Jean. Yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, just one thing on the Bulls. I think a guy who's really stepping up and the same way you were praising Yuri Matia, I have to give it to Keegan Ioannis, who's been 10 for the Bulls. I think for a young guy, he is keeping head above water, keeping it simple, keeping it straight. And if you've got a guy like Vali Leroux, on 15, you're just taking notes. Let him show you the way, and you just focus on executing the basics. What would be really nice is if Tim Nkosi's Lions could maybe, get an extra 5,000 fans to the stadium this weekend. So at least there's someone in every area of the bottom of the stadium.
Shots fired. All right, so that's us for this week.
I'm saying that when the Bulls get like 4,000 people.
Yeah, we're gonna look at the stats. You know what's weird? You can check the stats of the stadium like a day or 2 after the game is finished on the URC app, but I can't seem to do it on the URC desktop website. So that's a bit weird because the Bulls didn't get a shitload of people either. The Sharks got 11,000. We lost to a very good Ulster team, and then we got 1,000 people less. We got but we got about 10,000 for the game that we beat Scarlets. So that's kind of good. Stormers always pack the stadium because there's a culture here. Even though I'm not a Stormers supporter, there's a culture here of going to the game, and obviously it's a very densely populated municipality, and people come from far and wide as well. They come from outside of what you would call the city of Cape Town municipality. People, Stellenbosch is a municipality on its own, but it's not that far away, to the extent that Stormers, like Munster, actually train in multiple different places. Munster train in 2 different places, but the Stormers train in Stellenbosch sometimes, and in at the High Performance Center in Bellville off Grooteka Road. So that's us for the week. If you got to the end of the podcast, please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, get into the comments, and comment Jan-Hendrik Wessels. Keep your hands to yourself. Until next week, in Rassie, we trust.